Hi, I'm Stu from Hive Mind Automation and welcome back to the Hive. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at this Mirabella Genio Wi-Fi pan and tilt camera. As always, we're going to look at its claimed features on the box. We will get it out of the box to look at the build quality and see what we get in the box. And we're going to set it up and take a look at it in the Tuya Smart app. And once we've done that, we'll see if we can then get the feed into Home Assistant and how much control we get. So while I roll the intro, why don't you take a moment to subscribe, and if you hit the bell icon, you'll also get notified when I release new videos each week. And let's get started. So it's getting to the point where I can't actually go shopping anymore, because if I see a smart home gadget, I'm probably going to buy it. And in the next few weeks, you'll see some videos of some of those impulse purchases. So be sure to get subscribed if you're interested in seeing some of those. Now, the other week, right before I filmed the TP-Link Tarpo video, we were out at our local Big W store buying accessories for our new cat. To completely spoil her. And while we were there, I spotted these Mirabella Genio cameras for $89, and I just bought one as an impulse so that I could do a video on it and also to compare it to the Tarpo camera that we showed you last time. And in my mind at least, you can never have too many cat monitoring cameras. Now, the first obvious concern is that it's Mirabella Genio, which means Tuya. I have zero experience with getting Tuya camera feeds into the Home Assistant app, but I have seen some tweets from Frank Nyhoff at Bukasa that he'd been working on this a little while back and getting some success, so I'm hoping that it's going to be pretty easy. I've already set up the new Tuya integration in a previous video, so if you haven't already watched that video, you might want to check that out and then come back here, because I have a suspicion that we're going to need to have that newer Tuya integration set up to get anywhere close to integrating this camera into Home Assistant. So let's take a look around the box, and right on front we see that it's a Wi-Fi pan and tilt camera, and it specifies indoor here, so I suspect it's probably not a great idea to try mounting it outdoors. It works with both Google and Amazon assistants. It has two-way audio, night vision, motion detection. It supports a micro SD card, pan and tilt control, and it's powered by an adapter, which we'll see later on the box that it is included. And in the top right hand corner, the full HD 1080p. Now, it doesn't mention that it's 3 megapixel or anything like what we saw with the Tarpo, so I will be surprised if we can get anything more than 1920 by 1080p out of this camera. On the back, we've got more of the same specs, so you'll see that we have full HD over here with 1080p video. We've got a 100-degree wide viewing angle to see more of every moment. We have a night vision detecting distance of up to 10 meters or 30 feet of night vision range. You can live stream footage to your Mirabella Genio app. It supports a micro SD card up to 128 gigabytes, and interestingly, the Tarpo camera supported up to 256 gigabytes of micro SD, so I'm not sure what's going on there. For the purposes of our testing, I have a 32 gigabyte SanDisk card that I'll pop in there. I'm not sure about the health of this card, but we will try it out and see. We also have motion detection with real-time alerts to the smartphone or tablet. Two-way audio between the smartphone and camera, so it's obviously got a speaker and microphone. Remote access to watch live on your smartphone or tablet. and 355 degrees of pan and 60 degrees of tilt, and digital zoom via the Mirabella Genio app as well. It's compatible with Amazon Alexa and Google Assistant. In the system requirements, we need at least iOS 9 or higher and Android 4.4 or higher. For Wi-Fi, we're looking at 802.11n on the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum, so that's pretty standard. The power adapter is included, and it says indoor use only. And I did search this product number here on the Blackadder Tasmotor repository, and I wasn't able to find any information about this particular camera, and in fact I couldn't find any information about any IP cameras on the Blackadder repository, so I don't think there's an easy way to get Tuya controlled cameras out of the cloud at this time. That may change in future. The sides of the box have nothing particularly useful other than some basic instructions of setting it up, so let's get it out of the box. So with this particular box, there's just a single circular sticker here in the top, so I'm just going to cut through that and put my knife away, hopefully without cutting myself as always. And we just open the box up, and there's a plastic injection molded tray which I'll put over on this camera here so that we can see what we've got. And in doing that, I just flung the quick start guide over onto the floor there. We'll take a quick look at the quick start guide. So there's some details about the camera, the bracket, the screws and the adapter, which we should have. And we'll take a look around the camera as well. Okay, so like with the Tapo, I'll start with the power adapter. And so it is a Singwan Electronics AC adapter, 100 to 240 volts, 3 amps max, output of 5 volts at 1 amp. So this could theoretically run off USB. So micro USB is what goes into the camera, and the cable length, there's not as much cable length as what we had with the Tapo, but I'll untangle. So we've got maybe 1.5 meters of cable length. It's not super long. It's not 3 meters like what we had with the TP-Link Tapo. So a little bit disappointed about the cable length there. That's going to limit how we can mount the camera. We've got our little mounting plate here, which is very basic, just 2 screws and a couple of wings. I'm going to assume, we'll take a look at the way that mounts in a minute, but I'm going to assume that the camera just kind of goes on and twists onto these little wings on the side. We've got a screw pack in here with some plastic wall plugs, and the camera itself. And we'll take that out. And so we look at the camera, and it looks not that different from the TP-Link Tapo. It is a fair bit taller through this section here. And if we look at the bottom, interestingly, we've got a 1/4-20 thread on the bottom, so we could mount this using a standard tripod mount. And yeah, as I suspected, that's just the wings go in and then we twist it to lock it into place. On the back, we have a reset button, our 5 volt DC from the micro USB, and the micro SD card slot. So I'll take our micro SD card and pop that in there, and it looks like it needs to go in up that way. Yep, and it's not a standard spring-loaded slot, which, there it is, there's the spring. It just wasn't engaged properly. So the build quality feels very similar to the TP-Link Tapo. It is, again, I would say a polycarbonate shell. I'll see if I can get this sticker off the lens. So we'll just peel that off so that we've got it there. So that is the unit. There's really not much to say about it. The Motor feels about the same as the TP Link. So with the TP Link, this part of the body rotated and there was only a very small section at the bottom that did not rotate, whereas with this it's only the ball section that rotates. Let's plug it into power and take a look at it. So I'll just plug the micro USB cable in the back here, and we've got a little red LED that's come on, and it's now going to find the limit switches, and it just played a tone. So interestingly, it's put it can tilt the camera far up enough that it is behind the plastic body, which is very odd indeed, but we'll take a closer look at that in a moment. What I'll do now is we'll cut over and we'll go through the process of pairing this into the Tuya Smart app. Okay, so I'm going to open up Tuya Smart, and I'm going to tap the plus button in the top right corner and go add device. Down the left hand side, I'm going to look for security and video, and we'll go for, let's go for smart camera Wi-Fi, and it says we need to reset the device and make sure the indicator is flashing rapidly or a prompt tone is heard. So the indicator's already flashing rapidly and we heard the prompt tone before, so I'm going to tap make sure and then tap next, and we're going to connect it to the force, so I'm going to enter the password for the force there, and then I'll tap next. So now we have a QR code on the screen, and we need to try to scan that with the camera. So I'm picking up the camera and pointing it at my phone, and we just heard a tone that said that it had scanned, and now the light that's flashing on the camera is flashing blue, and I'm just going to tap I heard a prompt, and it's saying it's adding the device. Okay, so we've got security camera. I'm going to change that name. I'm going to call it CatCam2, and we'll tap save. And for now, let's just put that in the dining room. That's where we're sitting right now. We'll tap done. And it's established the connection, and we can see the feed from the camera. There's a little bit of lag, which is expected, and that's okay. So we've got a few things here on the screen that we'll try and explore. In the top right hand corner, it says that the signal's at 92%. We've got our sound in the bottom left of the camera feed, which is currently turned off. If I turn that on, we're going to get feedback, but let's try it. Testing. So that worked. It's an HD feed. We can turn that down to SD, and we might find that it lags a little bit less. Turn that back up to HD. We can take it full screen in the bottom right hand corner of the feed. That would also do the same thing if we turn the phone into landscape mode. We can tap the button to take a screenshot, and it asks if we want access to the photos. So I'll tap allow access to all photos, and it's saved that screenshot. Speak is going to be our two-way audio, so if I tap that and start talking, we get the speaker on the camera, and it's also turned the mute from the camera off, so it enables two-way audio just by tapping that speak button. We've got the record button, so it's started recording now, and we can presumably, when we stop recording I'll just do that now. So it's saved that recording into the photo album in the bottom left hand corner here. So we see we've got our 10-second recording, and we've got a photo screenshot that we took before as well. And we can select them and trash them, or we can select all and trash them, or if we cancel the selection and grab one, we can then tap on the icon in the bottom right and next to the trash, and then we can share it via any of our standard share sheet options. I'll just tap select all, and I'll trash those for now, back out to the feed. There's a playback section here. It's not detecting an SD card, so that SD card might not be very good, so I will have to take a closer look at that with a different SD card. And we've got our direction button here as well. So once I open up the direction item, I can then pan and tilt around using. So I'm just testing out the limit of the pan. So that's pretty good. You can cover a full 360-degree range. And for the tilt, weirdly, you can tilt the camera up to be behind the plastic dome. I guess that may be an answer to the TP-Link had the privacy mode. You could just tilt the camera up to be behind the dome. So I'll just back out of there, and you see we've got the camera, and it says we've got some options here. We can turn off privacy mode when you leave home, enter privacy mode when you come back home. And so yep, I would say that putting the camera behind the dome is privacy mode. You can have it send a message when movement is detected as well. So those are some scenes for that device, the recommended scenes. If I tap back into the device and tap on the edit symbol in the top right hand corner, you see we've got all of the same stuff that we normally would have in here. Our device information, our tap to run automations, the third party support integrations. We've got private mode. So if I turn private mode on, it's just tilted the camera up to be behind the dome. If I turn that private mode off, it's brought the camera back. Basic function settings, we've got the status indicator, which we can turn on or off. Flip the screen, which is going to invert the image. So if we're hanging it from the ceiling, we would want to do that. We've got the time watermark on. I want to leave that time watermark on there. Talk mode, we can have one-way communication, or we can have two-way talking. So you've got tap and hold the talk button to talk, or two-way to tap the talk button and then start a conversation two-way. And back out of the basic function settings, we've got IR night vision, which we've set to auto. If I turn that on now, I've just heard the relay click, and you can see that it's gone into black and white mode. And if I hold my hand up there, go back to the edit page in the top right corner of the app. So we can turn our night vision to completely off, or we can leave it on auto. Some detection alarm settings. So in here we can set a motion detection alarm and the sensitivity level between low, medium and high. We can set motion tracking, so that's actually kind of cool. So let me back out here and show you the motion tracking. So it's detecting some motion here, following the motion of my hand until it went into the private mode. So that was a bit silly. It doesn't handle that particularly well. But with the motion tracking turned on, it is able to track motion. I think it's getting a bit confused by the lights behind me. So that's kind of cool. I'll go back into the detection alarm settings. I might leave that on because that's going to be good for tracking the cat. We've got sound detection, and again, alarm sensitivity level is low or high. I'm going to turn motion tracking off because it's actually struggling a little bit. And we've got a schedule for the alarm, so we can have it all day on, or we can put it to a schedule, and we can have, it's not letting me set the start time. This app is not great. We'll leave it to all day on and we'll tap save. So the alarm timer schedule is a bit weird. We'll back out. We've got the same stuff we normally have: FAQ and feedback, share device, add to home screen, and the device update. There's no updates available, and the button at the bottom to remove the device. So that's the app, and we might now take a look at seeing how we could go about getting this into Home Assistant. Now, I'm pretty hopeful about the Home Assistant integration because as I was pairing the camera to the Tuya Smart app, I heard the Amazon Echo in the next room pick that up. So that's a pretty good sign. Now, inside my Home Assistant, I'm going to go to configuration. We can see that I've got an update due. I'll run that later. But inside devices and services, I'm going on the integrations tab here, and I'm going to head down to the Tuya integration here. We've got 13 devices, 45 entities. I'm going to tap the 3-dot stack and reload just in case we need to. We don't always need to do this though. So we've already got the 13 devices and 45 entities. If I click on that 13 devices, I did see something change here, and if I look here, I've got Cat Cam 2, and it's got the security camera and a random string of characters. So if I click on Cat Cam 2, we see we've got a decent amount of configuration sensors. So we've got video recording, we've got time watermark, we've got the sound detection sensitivity and whether it's on or off. We've got privacy mode, which we can turn on or off. Record mode can either be events or continuous recording only. Night vision on, off, or auto. Motion tracking on or off. The motion alarm on or off. The motion sensitivity. The indicator light we can turn off and on, and that's working as I would expect it to. We also have the flip item here, so we can flip the image if we were hanging it upside down. So honestly, this is probably one of the best Tuya integrations I've seen. There's so much detail in here that we can actually make use of. If I click on the image next to Cat Cam 2, we get some more settings here and advanced settings that we don't need to worry about. But if I click on the controls here, we should be able to load the stream. Now this can take a little while because again, we are streaming to a Raspberry Pi and it is coming from the Tuya cloud. And it is struggling a little bit, but it's probably going to be perfectly fine for anything we really need it for. I mean, this particular unit is basically going to be used to spy on the cat, so I'm not particularly worried about perfectly real-time information in Home Assistant, but the motion tracking will make this even better, and if I can get an SD card working in there, then that'll be great too. So the Home Assistant integration is actually looking really good here. So I'm going to try this 128 gig micro SD card. So I've got that SD card in there. And if I tap on edit, recording settings, local recordings turned on, got a schedule. I would say that it's figured it out because we've now got more options in here. We've got storage settings and we've got recording settings. So if I go to storage settings, we see the total capacity, the used capacity is 15.37 gig and the remaining capacity is 103 gig. So I'm not sure what's on that card. I might have to check that. But setting up recording from the SD card was trivial. We just put the SD card in there. It didn't even ask us to format it. Might actually give a point to the Mirabella Genio here, and especially based on the Home Assistant integration, it's certainly a lot better than the Tuya one because we've got a lot more control. Now, something I will mention if I head back over to Home Assistant is that we have absolutely zero control over the pan and tilt functions of the camera. Really, I'm not too worried about that. That actually seems perfectly fine, considering how much control we have here with all of the settings on the camera. I'm blown away by how well integrated this video device is with the Tuya Home Assistant integration. So to summarize some thoughts on this camera, it did cost more than the TP-Link Tapo, and it has some limitations compared to the Tapo, such as only supporting a 128 gig micro SD card compared to a 256 gig, and it only does 1080p video. You can't seem to turn it down to 720p, and you can't turn it up to the 1296 that you get with the Tapo. Looking at the image quality, the preview on screen, it's okay. The dynamic range looks a little bit flat, but I'll take a closer look at that as we edit the video. and for some pros, and there's actually quite a lot with this camera. Firstly, the Home Assistant integration is native and it's not a custom component. That's not to say that any custom components are bad or anything of the sort. It's just that they can sometimes be a little bit hit and miss. And in this particular case, the native Tuya integration, the new method of engaging with the Tuya integration, is fantastic. It provides everything that we need, all of the controls, way more controls than I actually thought we would ever see from a Tuya camera device. So I am pleasantly surprised by the amount of detail that we've got with the controls in this camera. Sure, there's some stuff missing, but it is what it is. Because Tuya is doing the heavy lifting for us, the video stream shouldn't be putting any additional load on the Raspberry Pi either, because it's not being encoded into an FFmpeg stream by the Pi. That heavy lifting should be being done by Tuya's server. That, however, does come with some concerns, which we'll talk about. The Tuya app is cloud enabled by default, so it doesn't require a subscription for me to unlock any features like being able to view the camera remotely. That being said, some of the features of the Tapo Cloud subscription are really cool, like AI detection and the motion tracking, but the motion tracking on this seems to work pretty well straight out of the box. The video quality at 1080p seems okay, and the night vision should be fine as well. I'll definitely see what it looks like overnight, and I'll see if I can grab a clip. Getting it set up in Home Assistant was a breeze because we already had the new Tuya integration set up. If you hadn't already set up that Tuya integration with the new method, you would definitely struggle a little bit with getting that set up. But if you've already got Tuya devices in your Home Assistant setup, the setup's already done for you. That's not to say that it's any more easy or any more difficult than the Tapo setup. The Tapo setup had a little bit more involved to ensure that you had the right settings on the camera, and also to make sure that you had the IP address registered in Home Assistant. Being able to monitor the cat while we're away from the house is a decent bonus, with the Tapo requiring that cloud subscription in order for us to be able to see the camera feed remotely when we're not on the same Wi-Fi network. The custom Home Assistant integration would also allow us to do that, but unfortunately that custom Home Assistant integration didn't allow the pan and tilt control, which we would need the native app to be able to do anyway. As with any cloud service, whether it's the Tuya cloud service or the TP-Link cloud service, I do have my concerns about security, and not to mention reliability. The camera feed is going to be going to someone else's server. It's unclear what the data retention policies on that camera feed data on the server are, and being a cloud service, there are the inherent cybersecurity risks associated with cloud-based services. The other thing that I'm worried about, being that it's going to Tuya's cloud, is Tuya may decide one day that they want to start charging for the privilege of using their service to get camera data. I may need to do a deeper dive of the cybersecurity implications of smart homes in a future video series. So let me know in the comments section if you want to see those videos. For our particular use case though, which is watching the cat, it's going to be just fine. I'm not particularly worried. Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. That is all we have for this video, and I do hope that it's helped you out in your home automation and surveillance journey. Be sure to comment down below with a home automation idea you'd like to see covered in a future video, and don't forget to follow HiveMind Automation on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button down below to give it a like, and if you're not already subscribed, now is the right time to change that. And if you hit the bell icon, you'll also get notified when I release new videos each week. I've recently partnered with NordVPN, and there's an affiliate link for NordVPN in the video description. I chose to partner with NordVPN because they've got the best infrastructure of any of the VPN providers that I've researched. They have a strict no logs policy and servers all over the world. They also have apps for just about every platform, whether that be mobile or desktop. So when you are surfing the web, whether you're at home or in a coffee shop, no matter where you are in the world, you can help protect your personal information while you browse the web. So you should definitely get a VPN today, and why not use my link below to sign up for NordVPN? It does help me out. Lastly, if you do want to help me out, but you're not in the market for a VPN, there is a Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description down below. Contributions you make through Buy Me a Coffee will be put towards making more and better content for you to enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Stu from Hive Mind Automation, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.